I did my last video on two very important eye defects that are supposed to get introduced to a candidate or a student pursuing any course in science, more specifically in biology. And today I want to focus on other defects of the eye that are very crucial to a student pursuing a course which is medically oriented. And one of the conditions I want to first introduce to you as my student today is astigmatism. This condition is very common in individuals of any age. So this is not very specific to a specific age bracket. And whatever it has to involve is this. It is a condition where light rays moving from a particular object will enter your eye as a person having the condition, and images will be able to get formed in different planes. This is where the cornea and the lens do not have an equal curvature. So it is caused by unequal curvature by the cornea and the lens in terms of the refraction of the light. So I would imagine that this is a person that will be able to work as our object, and this is the eye of the person with the condition. Let me just make a sketch for the sake of you understanding what I'm trying to talk about. So the cornea, this is the cornea, and this is what we call the conjunctiva. So this is our conjunctiva and this is our cornea. So this cornea and this lens have what you call an equal curvature. During the refraction of light. So they don't equally refract all the light to a specific point. So they have unequal curvature, different levels of refracting the light, different intensities of refracting the light, different abilities of refracting the light. So the rays coming from the object are not equally refracted by the cornea and the lens, so that this light may travel to different parts of the retina. And at the end of the day, different images can get formed in the eyes. This is what you call astigmatism. So this can be the light ray reaching the cornea and reaching the lens. This light ray can actually end up reaching the retina at that point. And this can be another light ray moving from this end, that. Look at that. So the light rays from the object are not equally refracted by the cornea and the lens because of unequal curvature of both the cornea and the lens. So the rays end up reaching different parts of the retina. So you have different images, and of course from the same object, getting formed in different planes within the eye. At the end of the day, it actually ends up causing difficulties in attaining perception. Perception is achieved with difficulty. To actually overcome this condition, a special cylindrical type of glasses are actually put on. So these special cylindrical glasses will be able to equally refract the light onto a particular point on the retina called the fovea centralis, or the yellow spot. And this is where the image on the retina is formed. So astigmatism is a condition where the cornea and the lens do not have an equal curvature in terms of refracting the light. So they actually refract the light to different intensities. And in that case, images are formed in different planes within the eye. To correct the mess or the condition, you can actually be able to end up putting on a special cylindrical what? Glasses in front of the eye to equally refract the light, to correct the unequal curvature of the cornea and the lens, so that all the light rays can fall on the fovea centralis or the yellow spot for us to achieve perception with no difficulties. So any focus in defective planes can be corrected by putting on the special cylindrical glasses. And to move forward, we can be able to look at a particular condition as well called squintedness. So squintedness is a condition where the eyeballs of the person getting affected do not face in the same direction. When the eyes are actually able to have a perception in a particular direction, the eyeballs do not coordinate. The eyeballs do not end up facing in that direction where perception has to actually get achieved. Let's try to imagine, I want to look at a particular vehicle that is moving closer to me from a particular direction. When I turn my head to actually have the focus getting done in that direction, the eyeballs do not end up turning all of them in that direction to achieve perception. One eyeball may turn to that direction where the vehicle is coming from, and the other ball or the other eyeball can actually turn to that other direction. So the eyeballs end up facing in different directions. So eyeballs do not coordinate accordingly on getting stimulated. And at the end of the day, focus is achieved with difficulty. So this is because the muscles that facilitate the turning of the eyeballs, maybe from left to right or up and down, do not coordinate well. For example, if I have this as my eyeball, let me just use this as my example. Let me say this is my eyeball. Don't mind about the diagram, as long as you understand the concept. So let's say this is my eyeball. And this is my conjunctiva, this is my cornea. Of course, I have my ciliary body, what you call ciliary muscles. We have the lens here, what you call the suspensory ligaments. So let's try to actually assume that I have these muscles. Of course, the muscles are actually found on the surface of the eye. And we have these other muscles. So we have these ones. So majorly, I'll only be able to focus on three very important types of muscles in the eye that can facilitate the turning of the eyeballs in as far as your perception is concerned. This one is called, and of course I can be able to use this and this. Look at that. So these and this are called the paired rectus muscles. The paired rectus muscles. Now, and you can also have these ones as the lateral rectus muscles. And you can also be able to have, I don't know if you're actually able to clearly see because of the way this paper is positioned. Don't mind about that. I'll work on this. Then we have these ones getting called the oblique muscles. The oblique muscles. So three main types of muscles. These muscles and these muscles are called the paired rectus muscles. These muscles in the middle are called the lateral rectus muscles. And these moving up and down, these muscles are called oblique muscles. So I'll be able to mention the functions of these muscles first before I can be able to correlate that to the condition. that this person may be suffering from. So these lateral rectus muscles move the eyeball left and right. These paired rectus muscles at the top and then at the bottom are able to actually turn the eye up and down. So they turn the eye up and down. These oblique muscles on the surface of these paired rectus muscles will steady the eye in its up and down movement. So the work of the lateral rectus muscles is to move the eyeball left or right when you're turning your eyeballs. So your eyeballs can be able to move left or right by the aid of the lateral rectus muscles. These paired rectus muscles at the top and then at the bottom of your eye can be able to turn your eye down or up. So turning the eye up or down is facilitated by the paired rectus muscles. Then these oblique muscles can steady that eye or those eyes in their up or down movement. So in the case of squintedness, the paired rectus muscles at the bottom may fail to coordinate with the paired rectus muscles at the top. The oblique muscles at the bottom may fail to coordinate with the oblique muscles at the top. Or the lateral rectus muscles of your left eye may fail to coordinate well with the lateral rectus muscles of your right eye. Or the paired rectus muscles within the same eye may fail to coordinate with the lateral rectus muscles. So they end up pulling the eyeball in the opposite directions. And at the end of the day, this will make the eyeballs to face in different directions, causing perception to get achieved with difficulty. So if these muscles fail to coordinate in both the eyes and they tend to pull the eyeball in different directions, that may make the eyeballs to face in different directions, facilitating difficulties in perception. So that's all about squintedness, and this condition may not have a correction at the moment, but with advanced technology in the near future, we might get a solution to this problem. So the muscles fail to coordinate on getting stimulated. They actually end up pulling or pushing the eyeball in different directions, making the eyeballs to face in different directions. Now, the third condition is called old sight, or some call it presbyopia. Old sight or presbyopia. Now, in this condition, you should note this. This is where I may take this to be my object, and this can be my eyeball. So you'll realize that in such a condition, light rays from a near object, this is my cornea, this is my ciliary body, ciliary muscles, the lens, suspensory ligaments. Of course, this is what we call the aqueous humor, the vitreous humor. This is the retina, okay, where the image is supposed to be formed at a point called fovea centralis. So light rays from a near object tend to actually get refracted, and they actually meet at the back of the retina or behind the retina. But light rays from a far object are correctly focused on the retina. Don't mind about the sketching and the drawing. So we are told that light rays from a near object are focused behind the retina. Look at that. But now light rays from a far object are correctly focused on the retina. That brings out the difference. So old sight or presbyopia can only be able to have perception getting achieved if any object from far is getting focused. But any object near to the individual is focused with difficulty because the rays moving from that object and reaching the retina may not get refracted well on the fovea centralis on the retina. They get focused behind the retina. means that an old individual, in terms of age, can well focus on an object far from him or her, but cannot well focus on an object near to him. And this can be due to the loss of elasticity of the individual's lens. The lens of the individual have become less elastic. The lens are not well elastic. The lens are less flexible. The lens cannot be able to actually bulge or cannot be able to actually adjust in terms of its elasticity. You see, when the lens are less flexible, then that means they are not able to actually become enlarged or reduced in size. The muscles can contract and relax to bring about the flexibility in the enlargement or the reducing in the size of the lens. So at the end of the day, you'll realize that the lens will find it so difficult refracting the light rays from a near object. Most of these conditions are very common and they tend to have solutions apart from the one I've actually just mentioned to you, which is squidedness. And of course, any person with such a particular condition at such an old age will be able to get first putting on a convex or converging lens so that the rays from a near object are well refracted on the retina. I repeat, any individual with such a condition at such an old age will be able to get forced to put on a converging or a convex lens so that light rays from a near object are correctly refracted on the retina at the fovea centralis or yellow spot. So, you are supposed to actually put on a convex lens. You are supposed to put on a convex lens so that the rays from this near object are correctly refracted on the retina. Very good. So a convex lens or converging lens can work well for this individual in terms of focusing the rays from that near object onto the retina. Or sometimes doctors can decide to actually give this individual a pair of lenses or bifocal lenses. This is one pair of glasses with different lenses called bifocal lenses. So you can decide to give an individual one pair of lenses or a pair of glasses with two different lenses or bifocal lenses. That can also be able to correct the mess. You can decide to use what you call the converging or the convex lens so that rays from this near object can get refracted on the retina and not behind the retina. Or you can decide to give this individual a pair of glasses with two different lenses or bifocal lenses. Bifocal lenses. Bifocal lenses. This can also be able to correct the condition. Bifocal lenses or a pair of glasses with two lenses, both converging and diverging, both concave and convex, to ensure that any object, whether near or far from the individual, can get well focused on the retina. Now, another condition is called color blindness. In our previous discussion, we said that we have rods and cones, and we said these are called photoreceptors. And we said these rods and cones or photoreceptors are sensitive to light with different intensities. And I mentioned to you that rods are sensitive to a low light intensity and cones are sensitive to a high light intensity, but they're all sensitive to light. That's why they're called photoreceptors. Receive, receptor. So they receive light. They're sensitive to light. But now, in terms of color perception, that can actually get associated with what you call color blindness, we shall talk about cones. So cones are sensitive to light and they're also responsible for color perception. And you said from what you call trichromacy. chromatic theory, we said we have three cones responsible for color perception. And we talked about a cone responsible for red color perception, we have a cone responsible for blue color perception, and a cone responsible for green color perception. So you have three cones, red, blue, green cones for three different color perception. Other colors, if any of those two cones or three cones are stimulated with an equal level of stimulation. Now, the most common type of color blindness is what you call the red-green color blindness. This is where an individual is unable to distinguish between the red and green colors. It is common, it's very common. And in as far as genetics is concerned, we do always associate this with the chromosome an individual has to actually talk about in terms of the female, which is now the X chromosome. They always say that the X chromosome from the female or the mother that gets transferred to the male child is the one that can cause this condition. And that's why we always say that this condition is very common in the male, because the only X chromosome carrying this disorder is inherited by the male child from the female parent. So the male are the ones that suffer most in as far as color blindness is concerned in terms of genetics, because of the X chromosome they inherit from their mother or the female parent. So when someone suffers from the red-green color blindness as a condition, then that means the individuals lack the cones that can respond to the red-green color perception. The individuals lack the cones that can respond to the red-green color perception. So they may actually confuse between the red and the green colors because they lack the right cones for the two color perception on their retina. Someone might actually see red and say it is green. Someone might see green and say it is red, because the cones that can actually respond to the red and green color perception are absent on the retina of this individual. And you see, in most cases, it is actually a condition that may not be able to have any technological intervention to help these individuals. In most cases, in terms of telling the street light colors when someone is actually on a highway, we are always advised to have a person that can actually be able to help you on that. Or during practical experiments in chemistry, for example, the science subjects, you're always advised to actually get a person to help you out on this. So individuals may find it so difficult in telling colors in street lights and as well in an examination that may actually involve practical experiments where colors are actually supposed to be distinguished. And so that means these genetic disorders relating to color blindness may not be able to get corrected at the moment, but with technological advancement and genetic engineering, we might get a solution to this in the near future. The last condition that I want to mention to you today is what we refer to as cataract. Cataract. Cataract is a condition that may be associated with one, age. An individual who is old is prone to suffering from this condition. And remember, it is different from old sight or presbyopia, where we said the lens lose their elasticity or the lens becomes hardened. The lens becomes less flexible so that there is difficulty in refracting light from a near object. And that means any rays from a near object, in as far as presbyopia is concerned, may get focused behind the retina. That's why we said you can decide to call a converging or convex lens to correct presbyopia, or you can decide to actually end up using what you call a pair of glasses with the two lenses or bifocal lens to correct the condition. But cataract is also associated with age, so it is very common with individuals who are actually in their later ages or later years of living on this earth. So age can be one of the causes of cataract. Number two is some diseases such as diabetes mellitus. You've actually had a situation whereby you are told in your normal classwork that diabetes mellitus is a condition where there is an excess of glucose in the bloodstream of an individual. This may be due to the failure of the pancreas producing enough insulin. You see, when you go to the pancreas, you have cells, and those cells are called islets of Langerhans. Islets of Langerhans. Those cells called islets of Langerhans are responsible for the production of these hormones called insulin and glucagon. So insulin and glucagon are two very important hormones secreted by cells called islets of Langerhans in the pancreas as an organ in the body of a human being. The work of insulin is to convert any excess glucose in the bloodstream to glycogen, which becomes a form in which a carbohydrate can get stored in the body of a human being or an animal, while the glucagon can be able to convert any stored glycogen back to glucose. So insulin is aimed at lowering the level of glucose in the bloodstream by converting any excess glucose to glycogen for storage, while glucagon is responsible for raising the level of glucose in the bloodstream by converting any stored glycogen back to glucose. So the pancreas is responsible for the control or the adjustment or for the regulation of the level of glucose in terms of its concentration in the bloodstream, and that can only be able to work when the brain is aware. So diabetes mellitus can result where there's an excess of glucose in the blood. So when the blood flows through your eyes, that can cause a condition called cataract. When that blood flowing through your eyes has an excess of the glucose. And the last cause of cataract is physical injury. Physical injury. Your eye gets injured, maybe because of a blow from an enemy, a friend, or a person you have an issue with or a conflict with. So any blow or any form of physical injury to your eye can cause cataract. Now, what is cataract in itself? Cataract is a condition where your lens or the lens of your eye become cloudy or opaque. I think you've seen people where the lens becomes cloudy like in terms of its appearance, or opaque. And this can actually block the light rays. This can actually block the light rays from passing through the lens. So do you think you can perceive anything? No. You've had an old age. Your lens have become so weakened. You've also had diabetes mellitus as one of the examples of the disease causing this or associated with cataract, where there's an excess of glucose in your blood, so that the blood flows through your eyes, that might cause the same condition. You've had a physical injury, like a blow, which might actually end up causing the same condition. So, in other words, at the end of the day, your lens, regardless of the cause, become cloudy and opaque. And when the lens become cloudy and opaque, then that means they have been denatured. So the lens are denatured. The lens are damaged. How? The transparent proteins making up the lens. The transparent proteins making up the lens. Why are these proteins in the lens transparent? To allow the passage of light. Because you see, light must pass through the lens so that that light can get reflected by that lens onto the retina. So the proteins making up the lens should be transparent to allow light to pass through them. So those transparent proteins in your lens or making up the lens become denatured, become damaged. So the transparent proteins making up your lens become denatured, become damaged, or become coagulated. So when they become denatured, they become coagulated, or they become damaged, they can't allow light rays to pass through them. So no perception is achieved at the end of the day. So I've said cataract is caused by age, or cataract is age related. Cataract is also caused by some diseases, or is also associated with some diseases like diabetes mellitus, where there's an excess of glucose in your bloodstream causing coagulation of your lens. Or cataract can also be able to get associated by what you call a physical injury due to a blow. So the lens become cloudy and opaque. They do not allow any light rays to pass through them. That can cause no perception. And of course, this means the lens become denatured, the lens become damaged by any of those three conditions, the lens become coagulated. So the transparent proteins in your lens become denatured because they're supposed to allow light to pass through them, but they're now actually denatured. They're supposed to allow light to pass through them, but they are now damaged. They are supposed to allow light to pass through them now, those transparent proteins, but they are now coagulated. So perception cannot be achieved because the transparent proteins that are supposed to allow light to pass through them and reflect the same light onto the retina become damaged, become denatured, or become coagulated. So how to correct this condition? The damaged lens is removed, and a healthy lens from a healthy individual can actually be able to get obtained, and through surgery you can do what you call a replacement of the damaged lens. So the damaged lens from this individual suffering from this condition can get removed through surgery, and another lens from a healthy individual can actually get obtained, and a replacement can get done, and the person can actually be able to restore his eyesight or her sight. And at the end of the day, perception can get well achieved. Thank you so much.